Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are born with the bhavana called as love, and there's only one bhavana, that's what is love. But we don't know about it. We are so oblivious to it. Before that we come to know about it, intellect has taken over. And intellect becomes all powerful. So therefore that we pushed it aside. Though actually the situations that come in the life are connected with this particular bhavana. That is what is the prema, love, that is there. And then its shades also we have seen. And that is what Narada points out here in three different stages. The first stage he says, Yalabdha Puman Siddho Bhavati, Trupto Bhavati. And means what? Basically that normal experience Trupti that is there, suddenly that you see that this Trupti happening. And anything that you are doing, the moment that there is love, that's what is the Siddhata that is happens. That means you reach it, you get it. See, normally what happens is that in all other practices, there is a sadhana and then there is a siddhi. Siddhi is a culminating point. Whereas in bhakti or in the love, there is nothing like you do the sadhana and then love comes. Like for example, alphabets we learn. We do sadhana. How much of learning that we do alphabets, finally at a point of time, hopefully for everybody, that comes that they will know writing all alphabets. Some people don't get it in spite of the fact, all those things. So that means there's so much of sadhana and siddhi. Anything that you take, there is sadhana and siddhi. Whereas this only one thing called as love, there is nothing like sadhana. You are just into that. And the moment that you are into that, Ladbha Puman Siddho Bhavati, that means, oh, you got it. There is such a beautiful example that is there. The idea is that the moment you hear about you are in the state of love, at once that there is a feeling of fullness, completeness, there's nothing else. Like the way that there was a great painter, very great painter. I just forget his name. In the West, he was there. I recollect his name anyway. So he was, in fact, he's very depressed and all that. His pictures were all like that. And those days when he was painting, that people would not recognize him as painter. Yeah, so I used to. Not Michelangelo. He's another person. So what used to happen? I'll get to you. Then one day, and he looked so shabby, so this thing. But somehow I was very fond of that, his paintings. During those days, people would not recognize him as a painter, did not. But he had very weird ideas about painting. So all those things were there. Suddenly, one lady came to him and said that, look, you're a really charming person. I really love you. Wow. Until that time was so depressed. Suddenly he became very, as if he has conquered the world, Siddha and all those things. And everything was going on. Suddenly everybody saw that there's so much of change in him and then he's become very active, all those things. And what is this suddenly that you became so active? Then he said, that girl told me that I love you. So somebody is there to love me. So he got the love, et prapya, et labdha puman, siddho. Then he said, joking, how can anybody love you the way that you are? Then he said, no, she said very clearly that she loves me. No, go and ask her, why did she love you? Why does she love you? Then he went to her and asked, so why do you love me? Then he said, then she also got into trouble because that she looked at him. What is there to love in him? There is nothing, his features which will indicate that. Then she, for a while, that she thought, and then I love your ear. And this fellow cut off his ear and gave it to her. The story like that. So, Siddho, this when you get, we have that experience. Like somebody tells that, really, you are great, you are wonderful, and I love you. And we feel Siddho Bhavati, Trutto Bhavati, all those things are there. Next thing is, he says, Yat prapya nakinchit vanchati nashochati naramate na utsahi bhavati. That means when you get that, then you don't want anything. Nakinchit vanchati nashochati. You see, the first one is a positive thing. Second thing is negative. There is nothing that you want. Nakinchit vanchati nashochati. You never remorse for anything. Nasho naramate na utsahi bhavati. There is nothing which can really is giving enthusiasm to you. That is the kind of thing. Does it mean that you don't have enthusiasm? Does it mean that you become negative? No. Actually, we are so positive. That's why we don't have anything. So, nakinchit vanchati, nashochati. And then the third level, where this is very important. It says yajnatva. That means now this jnana, that means you are knowledgeable about it. See, after hearing all these ideas and talks, probably first time that in your lifetime, you must have felt that love is something which is important. Until that time, that there was no idea that this is something which is unique, which is extraordinary, which is our own experience and all that. So now that yad jnatva, that means now jnatva comes from the jnana jneya. That means to say, when the jnana and jneya merge together, that's when it becomes like you are knowing. And this is what our Shastra also says, that the real knowledge is that when you become. So you see that you became, that means to say the aspect of jnana and the jneya became one together. That means what is to be known and knowing process. It became you, you are that. This is what is says jnatva matto bhavati. This is a very important thing. Actually, this matto bhavati is a short form of unmatto bhavati. Unmattva is actually madness. Unmattata is madness. What is madness? What is the idea of madness? Madness is that where there is no more intellect functioning. Because when the intellect is functioning, then there is no madness, there is an orderliness. But the moment that you go cross beyond that, that's what is madness. Children, they are not into that logic, intellect and all. You try to convince them that that chocolate is bad, chocolate is this thing, he listens to everything. At the end, you ask him that, what do you want? Chocolate. See, all that logic doesn't function. So this is what is unmattata. There is another very philosophical, deep philosophical meaning behind that. Until the intellect, it's all karya karana sambandha. That means cause and effect connection. There is a cause and there is an effect. These two things are connected, they're related. Whereas the moment that you come to the level of love, this is where basically, we in yoga, we talk of these two things. One is called as abhyasa and the other is the vairagya. What's the difference between these two when you deeply look into philosophical way? Abhyasa is where it is step by step by step. That's what Patanjali has given. Whereas vairagya is a quantum leap. It's a quantum leap. That means to say between one point to the second point, there is no question of any particular order. Actually, this is a very important point, is that even Patanjali, when he gave all the Ashtanga Yoga, everything, finally he says that the last step, Samadhi, is not what you do, what happens. See, that means to say there is no stepwise. Okay, tell me what next, is it Samadhi? No, it happens. Now, that means you are left into the place of where Agno. And that's what is the actually unknown position. And that's where basically Unmattata. Unmattata is that position where it is not logically connected, stepwise connected.
So can we say Meera Bhai's Bhakti for Krishna was that?
Yeah.
Right? No logic. But
Right. That's why there is at that point of time, even Patanjali says Samadhi is not what you do. Then I thought that I will do Samadhi. So dharana is over, dhyana is over, and then now I will do Samadhi. When that's how people, some of the meditation people give instruction. Now let us sit down and do dharana. Now let us do dhyana. Now let us do Samadhi. Hey, Patanjali says Samadhi is not what you do. Oh, I thought that I will do that. No, you can't do that. Means what then? All these 7 steps I have done, is it useless? Yeah, it's useless. Because that doesn't require all these 7 steps. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Such a simple, ordinary thing like sleep is something what you don't do it. Sleep happens. There, you see, like from the wakeful state to sleep, is it logical? Is it step by step? There is no steps. You are driving on the road and then suddenly you fall asleep.
this happens.
There is no logic. Of course, there's a logic. If I'm sitting in my class and sleeping, there's a logic. But when I lie down on the bed, then sleep doesn't happen. I prepare everything. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, all those things. In fact, some people say, count 1, 2, 3, 4, count reverse 3, 4, 5, all those things. But these are all just to engage you. But otherwise, there is nothing like it. You do it, it happens. So this is what he says, that Yajñātva unmatto bhavati. You become like mad. It's a danger actually that way. That is the reason why somebody who realizes that love, his steps are not in the logical order. So he needs to be taken care of, or she needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, there is no, the disconnection from the routine world takes place. That's the reason why I said that up to intellect, it's all about the world. Beyond intellect, that's where the bhavana is beyond the intellect. So this is, and yesterday, my very good friend, Dr. Manohar Shinde was here. So I spent some time with him. I told him about this, that this is, my senior, my guide, he also says that something like that, what you are saying. He said, I didn't understand, but today I can understand much better. So then, okay, when you come to USA, we'll have dialogue about that. So all that we were discussing about. So essentially, that position is where unmatto bhavati. And unmattata is that. Your activities are unmattata in that way. Like I tell you that, I gave you that example that highly accomplished doctor in USA, long time that he was meeting me, and he came to Houston to pick me up. And we had, last final day, valedictory dinner was there, with 20 items and all that. And then he picked me up after that dinner. And then he took me, he came and then picked me up, and then he took me all the way. And on the way in Houston, this Madras Pavilion is very famous. He took me to Madras Pavilion and he ordered Uttapam, those are these, that, vada. I said, look, you saw me that I just finished my dinner, and that's a big dinner, valedictory, and then you brought me all this. He said, look, Raghuram, I don't know whether you eat or not, it doesn't matter. But I just love to give you all these things. Unmattata. Unmatto bhavati. And then before that, yallabdha yat prapya na kinchit vanchati na shochati narapate na utsahi bhavati. None of these things are there when you realize that. And the last one is when you jnatva. That means when you know it, when your knowledge becomes about that, then matto bhavati, stabdo bhavati. Stabda is also equivalent to samadhi. And that's also equivalent to the idea of that kumbhaka. Stabda means all the movements have stopped. You are beyond the movement. This is what is stabda. Stabdo bhavati, and that's what is the state where you are in the Atmarama bhavati. See how he brings about that contact in the third level is that you become completely Unmatto bhavati, Stabdo bhavati, and Atmarama bhavati. The stabda, you see, look at that. We recognize every moment based on something which is non-moving. Non-moving is the background, so that movement is here. Black board is there, therefore white letters that you can come across. So this has always been there. A wheel moves because that there is an axle. So the whole strength of wheel is there in the axle. The same way that your growth, this is what is Mandukya Upanishad says, all the changes that are happening, wakeful state, dream, deep sleep state, and all those things, and then childhood and adolescent and all those things that happen, because that you are somebody behind it. So you are the consciousness who is behind it. So therefore, that's what is the idea of stabda. That means you come to a state where movement is there outside, but then that is something where the movement is not there. It's like the way you are from the wheel, you came to the axle. Wheel is something like doing, and then axle is the being. And that's where is you are in the Atmarama state. Atmarama. That's a only experience when you have touched your own consciousness, you are one with that, you be with that. That's why that consciousness itself is supposed to be 3-4 importantly. It is a consciousness which is experiencing. It is the senses are only the windows, but it is the consciousness working through the senses, experiencing those things. But we always think that my eyes are seeing, my ears are hearing, my nose is smelling. It is as absurd as saying that the sun is rising, sun is setting. It's as absurd as that, but I am seeing behind all those things. I have seen it. That means this I is somebody who is behind all these things. I thought about it. My intellect is also there. So I am behind all those things. What is that behind? Is this consciousness. And that is something which does not move. It is just stationary. And this is what we call it as the Atmasthiti. Difference between the Brahman and Atman is that it's the one and the same thing. Only thing is that the Brahman, which is I separated from the rest of the thing as myself, is supposed to be Atma. Now that Atmasthiti, when you are there, and the next step is nothing but when this individuation leaves, then you are one with the Brahman. So that is the reason why connected with the first thing, sadhana, siddhi, an ordinary simple thing that you get the siddhi out of love, that can extend right up to the spirituality. And the highest thing also, that the siddhi that you get it because that you are in the Atmarama sthiti. And that's why bhakti sadhana is supposed to be the last part of it. Often people say that, whether you take jnana, whether you take Raja Yoga, we see the Raja Yoga itself. Samadhi is something what happens to you. So, same way that Naishkarma Siddhi also, that the I gets resolved, therefore it becomes a Naishkarma Siddhi. That means I am not the doer, that things are happening. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Pashyan, Shunnan, Srishnan, Jikran, all these things, Indriyani, Indriyartheshu Vartate. I'm not doing, they're all happening. So ultimately that idea of Stabdo Bhavati, Atmarama Bhavati is same as what is called as Naishkarma Siddhi, what is called as Samadhi, and what is called as the idea of Jnana, ultimate, that becomes like consciousness. Now, after telling that, now he once again qualifies this idea. Prema is somewhere in between. Prema pushes you to that state of complete bhakti, where this is supposed to be the state of bhakti, where you become one with the Atmasthiti. So, if you do not realize that, and then it can come down. So that is why prema belongs to the mind, but when it degenerates at the body level, it becomes kama. Kama means matter level. Whereas the moment that it elevates which has natural ability to elevate, and that's what is bhakti. So other than that, if you deny the prema, you cannot get into bhakti. It is the fulfillment of prema takes you to bhakti. By denying the prema, that means the whole area that you are avoiding it. And the problem that happens the moment that you deny the prema, you get caught up in the intellect. You get caught up in the intellect and you try to work with the intellect. As I said last time, that when you come to the intellect level, that you are become the worst of the computers. You are nothing better than that. So you could not deny the prema, but you cannot keep the prema. It has to raise to that level of bhakti. These things that you recognize that these are the things that are happening in the state of prema, these are the things happening with me. I become like stabda. I just don't follow the logic. I just be beyond all the kind of logic. And I'm also in the state of arrested, peaceful. And in the last state is something I'm in the self. This is what is that. If I don't do that, then it comes down to kama. That's what is the next sutra. It says that sa nakamaya manaha nirodha rupatvat. So that means to say, if you are able to elevate this to the level of Atma Ramastiti, then you are going in that upward direction. There is no possibility of going down in the downward direction. When you go into the downward direction, that's what is kama. So when you are looking at this way, prema, looking at in the upward direction, which is natural like the way that the flame goes in the upward direction, then nakamaya mana. It itself does not take you to kama. By itself, it can never go down to kama. Nakamaya mana. That means that it is not having anything like that kama. And later on also that we have ideas that the moment you are in the state of love, actually, you want something. No, I don't want anything. In fact, I give you. You give. Later on the sutra comes, I give and get happiness. Not that I take something. I don't want anything. So, nakamaya manaha, and that kamana not being there is nirodha rupatvat. This word is very useful because nirodha, often people think that you give up. That's a wrong notion actually. Chittavritti nirodha also yoga is saying about. Vritti not being there is nirodha. Vritti is there, vritti not being there is nirodha. That's all. I have not stopped the vrittis. I did not force myself to stop them. Vritti is not there. We have a state within us where the vrittis are not there. Similarly, that we are in the state of love, naturally, that nirodha rupatvat, it is rupa of the nature of nirodha. That means it's not that you are forcefully doing it, but it just happens that way. It is that state naturally happens. Nakamaya manaha nirodha rupatvat. That means to say, love itself cannot degenerate into kama. Love itself cannot degenerate into kama because it is nirodha rupatvat. That means something else is influencing the love to come down. Yes, to come down, there is something else which is coming. And that's what we call it as ego. Later on, we'll go into that detail. So if I can take that this does not happen, this ego does not influence the love, well, it's not only love, compassion, anything, immediately it degenerates. Like a very simple thing that you have a very genuine service mind idea to see that in the park that somebody is holding the key and then just gets up, and then I give all this example. I give this example because it happened in the Lal Bagh. And even I felt that somebody was sitting in the Lal Bagh, keeping the hand, and under that he had the whole home key, seriously talking to somebody about business and something. And then in that seriousness, he just got up and started walking. He left the key behind. I knew that it is his key because he just know that. Poor fellow, when he goes home, that he will suffer without key. And later on, he realizes that he is Lal Bagh event. And where do you search in Lal Bagh for the key? So therefore, I immediately picked up the key, ran behind him, and said, "Myself, I think it's your key." That fellow is still seriously on the phone. And then he took the key. My intention was that he should not suffer. He picked up the key and then this little smile. And then he continued to talk and go away. So standing there and thinking that he did not even say thanks to me. Expectations mount. Small little simple thing, how the ego mounts. And ego mounts, it creates bitterness. The joy that I have really helped him to see that he did not suffer. It gone. The moment that ego comes into the picture, expectation comes to the picture. Goes away. And expectations will be waiting any moment. You're not careful. This is what nakama expectation means kama.
Okay.
Expectation is kama. Nakamaya mara. So the karma does not belong to love.
I thought expectations equal.
Yeah, ego prompted.
But here,
Yes.
To possess ego.
Right. See, when ego degenerates prema into karma. Now I must have it. I have to possess it in various ways. Like, for example, compassion. A great compassion for somebody, but the moment ego comes at, they complain. See, Bangalore roads are horrible, this one is horrible. Why do you have to complain? Somebody met with an accident, you help him. Compassion was felt, but then becomes complaint at once. Similarly, you see, this is how here kamaya mana hai, is a kama. Like the way prema is for all different kind of positive emotions, kama is representing all the negative emotions. Yes. Right. Swabhimana is something where you protect yourself. You protect yourself. You are not asking for anything. You protect yourself. You are not taken for a ride. You are not taken lightly. You are yourself. This is what is Swabhimana. In fact, this what very deeply when you are telling about the Swabhimana, I've always distinguished these two things. One is called as the Asmita and the other is Ahankara. Ahankara is the ego. Asmita is Swabhimana. Asmita is, like for example, I have to study, I have to prepare, I have to do the meditation, I grow myself, I do not get caught up in these things. This is what is Swabhimana. That's what is Asmita. Asmita is positive. And I always give this idea. Asmita has three different forms of Asmita. One is the doer Asmita, I do it. And second thing is the identifier Asmita, Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva, and then and third one is Jnatrutva, the identifier. You are a dad for a child, and yes, you take care of the child. So this is Swabhimana. I take care of my child. I see that my child is provided good everything. And he feels that I'm there with him. That's the kind of thing. This is Asmita. There is nothing like ego about it. Yes, there is. So that's another thing. Swabhimana is connected with the responsibility. When you are Swabhimana, that means you do it. Whereas ego is not connected with responsibility. Ego is connected with people recognizing that. Ego is always about outside the argument, recognition from outside. Whereas Swabhimana is for you to do it. You are there. These three things. Like for example, I want to build my body. I want to do something. I have to do it. Like for example, swimming. I cannot the swimming video and then keep watching and then sitting on my couch and say, oh, now I know what is swimming. You don't know it. You have to do it. You have to jump into the water. You have to go into the water, then you don't know swimming. You have to do it. Oh, no, I've seen 10 videos about swimming, 20 videos about swimming. I don't know how the strokes are to be made and all that. And also I got into the swimming pool where there's no water and then I moved all my feet and all that. I practiced very well. You know, jump into the water. So this is what kartrutva, doing we have to do. Jnatrutva, identify. And this identifying has so many things. In fact, I say that there are two things. One is that identifying about myself. Like for example, I'm a man. It's an identification. I'm a woman. I'm an animal. Or I'm a human being, not an animal. This is identification. So therefore, basically, identification is so important. This is one aspect. Second thing is role identification. I'm a father. It's a role. I'm a prime minister of the country. There is a role. If I don't take that, identify with that role, Asmita will not happen. I cannot function my role. I have to function that role. In fact, so beautifully said in Shastra, I love to quote that. It says, when he is on the throne, he is Bhoja Raja. When he gets down from the throne, he is Bhoja. He is not Raja. So identification. So these are all the things. In fact, once there was a discussion that was going on, and then there was a big physics professor, is a Nobel laureate, and all that, is a big man. He was there with us. And then he said in one of the close group conversations, somebody asked him that, he said something, he made some statement about the unified field theory, big theory and all that. Is it physics does not accept it, he said. Then this person countered him saying that, how do you say physics will not accept it like that? This man said, laughed. He said, I'm physics. Because it's Nobel level. When I say it means physics does not accept, please take me. See, that means you are at that level where you have become an authority. This is what is identification. So Modi says that I have opened so many million bank accounts. How do you say that? I'm the Prime Minister. So there is identification. So this is what is very important. So this is what is the Swabhimana. Asmita comes into that. And another thing is, when you hold on to Swabhimana, you will not give trouble to anyone. When your ahankara troubles others, particularly children will recognize so easily. In fact, there is one small little girl, 7-8-year-old, when she was listening to somebody talking, and she said, Mama, he said, Raghu Mama, will go. Will not. I said, what happened? Did you understand what? No, he is very egoistic. Children will realize immediately that there is ahankara, that not Swami. Easy. So this degeneration happens. That is why the love itself is nakamaya manaha nirodha rupatva. Love itself does not have kama. Love itself is of the nature of nirodha. Kama nirodha. So that means to say something else which is corrupting that love. That's what we need to understand. Nakamaya manaha nirodha rupatva. And this is what is the 7th sutra.
Nirodha, what is exactly?
Nirodha, you see, canal, that is, Nirodha is not stopping. Nirodha is a state where it is not there. See, like for example, that you say that when there is daytime, the brightness is there. Whereas in the night, light is not there. That is what is Nirodha. Light not being there is Nirodha.
So Chitta Vritti Nirodha.
Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Actually, there is Vritti. When it is Vritti, that's what is one aspect of it. Vritti Nirodha is the aspect where the Vritti is not there. When Vritti is not there, Chitta is in Swarupa. See, Vritti is not there. It is not that you stop the Vrittis, or it is not against Vrittis. This is a very important fundamental thing, that Patanjali was not against Vrittis, because Vritti is the way that you function in the world outside. If I am speaking, it is because of the Vritti. So therefore, that this functioning has to happen. Therefore, Vritti has to be there. But Vritti Nirodha is when the functioning is not there. Like for example, mirror is reflecting, that is the Vritti. But the object goes away from the mirror, mirror doesn't reflect.
Why is it Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha?
When that Vritti is not there, that is what is yoga.
Okay.
Vritti not being there is that's what is yoga. It's not that Vritti is stopping. And Vritti is not there, that's what is yoga. And why is it? What happens when you are in the yoga? You are in the yourself. Tatha drashta swarupe avastha. You are in yourself.
Vrittis will not disturb.
Yes.
Vrittis are there.
Yes,
but
Vritti
then-
is there, but then you, like
be
for example,
understood.
yes. You are no more with that Vritti. You are come out. Manasa, vacha, karmana, you have come out of that Vritti. Vritti being there is no. Actually, that's another very important thing. Vritti is there, that's why Vritti Nirodha Sthiti is also there. Like the way the pendulum goes on one side, also goes back into the other side. If you say that pendulum cannot go on the other side, then pendulum cannot go this side also. And who stopped the Vrittis? Actually, there is nobody who stopped the Vrittis. You all function in the Vrittis. Everybody functions in the Vrittis only. There's no question of, when you don't want to take the Vritti, when you know that it is not necessary, you just don't take that Vritti. This is what J. Krishnamurti put it very nicely. He said that you should have this clear idea. You see a tree, don't say a tree. It is necessary that you have to say. Otherwise, don't say a tree. I've seen. But you know, for us, what happens? Not only we see the tree, what only we say the tree, but we already counted the number of leaves on the tree. That far it goes on, even without even our permission. If you are the boss, you say, all right, I see the tree, but I don't say it. This is what J. Krishnamurti said. A real mastery over the mind is, our real master of the mind is that you see a tree, but don't say a tree. So, prema itself is nakamaya manaha nirodha rupatva. It is the nature where there is no kama. So now what happens is a great advantage. That is, now we are not afraid of prema. Now we do not become defensive about it. We don't want to become defensive about it. Prema means all connected things. Like, for example, appreciate. Something which is beautiful, appreciate. That appreciation does not become possession. Kama is a possession. Equivalently. Yeah, appreciate. People say, oh, I don't want to go there because the moment I see that, I would like to have it. No, you don't have to have it. Because it's not in the nature of that. People go to the shopping place, buy some couple of items, toothpaste, toothbrush, and then when they come out of it, they're looking for 5 plus 10 items or 10 plus 5 items. Why it happened? Because that is it is also there, that's all. So there it comes.
Daily for women. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I said, no, I appreciate, but what happens of possessing, but it comes naturally. Oh, this doesn't display that color.
Yeah. Did you really want to buy a dress? No, I wanted to buy only tea powder. It doesn't go.
But it was attractive to it.
Attractive. The Kamaya, this. So, can we separate these two things? Like, for example, appreciation and possession. Can we separate these two things like compassion and complaint? Because compassion itself does not have a complaint. Appreciation itself does not have possession. Prema itself does not have kama. Nakamaya mana, nirodha rupatva. And what kind of kama not there? You know, he goes very deep into the next sutra. I say, nirodha rupatvat, nirodhastu sakala loka vyapara nyasaha. Nyasaha means basically it is that it doesn't exist. Not being there is nyasa. What kind of that? Loka vyapara, Veda vyapara. Both these things not there. Now what is Loka vyapara? What is Veda vyapara? That is, Loka vyapara is possession from the ordinary common things. When you are in the state of love, ordinary common things that you would like to possess, these are all common. This is what is Loka vyapara. And to a level where I should be appreciated, I should be recognized, I should be an important person. Then when the group photo is taken, this person comes and stands right in front. Others stand to the side. I have to do this way. No, you're insignificant. So this is what is Loka vyapara. Object possessions and all that is smaller. Not only that, there's another thing. Even giving up object also, it is basically the object becomes important. It's not the question of object giving up. Because even if you give up, that object becomes very important. Like for example, and not only for him, but the followers. Like the simple thing is that I just gave up my lucrative position that I was working in KPC, I was earning so much money, all this, I just gave up. Today it is 30 years or 40 years. Even till today, if I said that I gave up 40, so that means I have not given up, I'm still holding on. That actually what giving up becomes much more important. Yes. I just gave up a lakh of rupees, 5 lakhs of rupees. But you know what? 5 lakhs of rupees I gave up 20 years ago. That means today it is easily 1 crore of rupees. I'm still calculating. Where is the question of giving up? So, and that means to say, value has not given up, is not gone. Just look at the thing. Money didn't have any value other than its application. Other than that, where is the money? Usefulness of money? Money is useful for some function, that's okay. If the money is not useful, then what is the use of it? Why it is important? Now I gave up to 20 years ago. 5 lakhs of rupees. Today it is 1 crore. Well, I have not given up. How much you gave up becomes important. That means how much is more important than you gave up? There is a great philanthropist, he has given to the organization 10 lakhs of rupees so that the school is really, and that fellow is pulling his shirt. 10 lakhs of rupees 20 years ago. That means today it is equivalent to 1 crore rupees. That means you are still holding on to it. A fellow came to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He wanted to give up everything, and then he had a set of gold coins and gave up. So he wanted to give up. Ramakrishna said, I can't even keep anything. I can't even keep my things in order. I just don't. You also don't want it. I also don't want it. Why don't you go to the Ganga, throw it out and come back? And so that fellow went to Ganga, Ramakrishna's room is there. West veranda, and then he goes outside. That's what is Ganga. Went to Ganga. Others were there, and suddenly Ramakrishna found out that even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, this fellow has not come back, 15 minutes. Then Ramakrishna now suddenly has a doubt. This fellow didn't want this money or didn't want to himself also. Not only he put the coins in the Ganga, he put himself in the Ganga. So he asked somebody, can you find out? Ramakrishna himself went there to find out what happened to this fellow. He went to that Varnashit, and this fellow is putting the gold coins in the river, saying that 221, 222, you're still counting what you gave. What you have it, you don't count. You count, there is meaning. What you gave up, you count. And now what you gave up, you count. It can become anything, number. So, this is how basically that value is not given up. It still holds on to that. Nakamaya manaha nirodharupatva. Nirodhastu loka vyapara. These are all the things belong to loka vyapara. Now I gave money, but people should recognize. That's why you should write it on a nice, wonderful marble plate, my name and how much I gave donation. Now that I put the date also. Don't forget.
In temples.
And yeah,
temples,
and not only
like,
but if you put it on the top, nobody will see. You put it there, but then even if you put it down also, I want to prove that I'm very humble. Therefore, put it on the floor so that people see that how humble I am. Not even on the wall, I'm on the floor. But then please don't put it on the floor in such a way where people walk on the side. All these specifications, because what you gave up is something. Just one generation later, who will remember who has given what? You go to the temples, you see that all those stones are there, which are all those names. Does anybody recognize anybody there? But it's your satisfaction. You want to do that. Loka vyapara. All these things are loka vyapara. Give to the temple, you do this thing. Moment that there is something like that, your recognition that is there, it still has a value. Husband and wife, they left everything and then they were going to the forest, sannyasa. And then there also in the forest, that husband walking ahead, that wife is coming behind. They are not walking together. Usually it happens everywhere. Man walks ahead, the woman is walking behind. And then he went ahead and he saw a bundle of gold coins are sitting there. So, my God. The moment he saw the gold coins, he said, I don't care for it because I'm mad. But then women and gold, they can't be separated. My wife will be definitely attracted to gold. For me, mati taka, that means to say gold and money, mud and the same. Because that's what the chemistry says. I know chemistry very well. She is not even a chemistry student. So she doesn't understand gold and money is the same. So therefore, I have to save her from that gold, attraction towards the gold. Therefore, he dug a pit, put all the gold coins and is covering. By the time she came, he saw. Now he became guilty because he saw. He became guilty. Then she asked him, what are you doing here? They are covering mud with the mud. Covering the mud with the mud. I thought you have gone far ahead. See, there's a meaning in that. Far ahead means he was going ahead. That's something. Spirituality, you have not gone far ahead. You're still looking this mud and the gold separate. And in the process that you think that you are helping me, but you are caught up with that. So therefore, nakamaya manaha, loka vyapara. But then I don't have loka vyapara. This is a very important thing, that is Veda vyapara nyasa. Veda vyapara is what? We do all these things, sadhana, everything for the sake of going to heaven, going to this, the Islam, Jannat. What is your heaven? Heaven is nothing but a enriched world. What you did not get here, and then in the heaven it is all provided. Actually, that's how you can see that every culture, by looking at the description of their culture, they see that what they are deprived of in the life here. And what are their attractions that is there? Here, like Muslims, you are not supposed to drink here. So therefore, there in the heaven, why they want to go heaven? Because there it's a river of drink is flowing. Here, you have to drink has to enter into you. There, you enter into the. In fact, Omar Khayyam is a very great Sufi saint. People mistake him, but he, in his Prophet, is one of the books where he writes so beautifully. He says that, "Oh God, Allah, I heard that in the heaven. I'm going to go to heaven. Wait, anyway, sure." And then in heaven, they say that there is rivers of liquor that is flowing, provided to me. But then, if I don't have practice, how can I enjoy that? So let me practice here before I go there. I'm not drinking, but I'm practicing how to go into the heaven to practice.
The justification.
Yeah, justification.
You're okay.
I'm okay.
You're okay, I'm okay.
So everything is like that. Like, for example, the heaven for the Hindus, it's cool place. It's a very cool place because we are in the hot place here. That's why it is cool place. Whereas for Tibetans, heaven is a warm place. That's why, you know what? The Western people, they said, warm welcome to you.
Wow.
And somehow we adapted that their own idiom. And so we also say, extend a warm welcome to you. So it's not a warm welcome. You should say cool welcome to you. Because I'm already sweating, and on top of it, what do you do? Warm welcome. So like that, essentially that heaven is something where you missed here, then you have that there. Here you have to be satisfied with one wife. There are plenty of women given to you. Somebody asked, all right, but what about women? What will happen to them? No. Allah did not describe about women. Only for the sake of men. For the men's religion, that's what it is.
They are not human beings.
Yeah.
Correct.
You cannot even choose.
Correct.
But they are there.
Women are there. Yes.
They say 69 virgins.
But how did they go in the first place? Man can go with all this thing. How can women go? No, they're separate women there. These women do not go. All kinds of. So therefore, these are the things, that is, Veda Vyapara includes all these things, like, for example, working for heaven, working for that. God will bless me with these things, with a child. God will bless me with a nice ray. All these things are Veda Vyapara. I'm not asking for myself, but for the sake of society, for the sake of this thing, something, even that. Nakamaya Mara. They are also under the part. Including the idea that this will give me peace of mind. Even that's also supposed to be Veda Vyapara. Looking for that. See, it's very important that you are not even looking for peace of mind. Then only that you 100% you are in the experience of love. Nakamaya manaha nirodharupa. All these things drop off, that I'm just loving. Mother loves the child just for loving. You ask mother, why do you love? No, because when he grows up, he will take care of things like that. No mother has that idea. You just love at that moment. Not even an idea this child grows. Not even that. The child grows naturally, but I don't have any investment of that. Veda Vyapara.
So there is basically bargaining for heaven.
Ah.
So I do this, I get punya sir.
Right. None of these things are there. I just love the child. You know, there was an incident that happened earlier in Tiger, but it's okay. In Florida, I have a good friend, American friend, couple. They have all these birds. They love these birds, and I love those birds. And these birds talk. They talk so nicely, legibly, very clearly, and then they imitate voice also. So and I go to their house, and then immediately the bird comes and sits on my shoulders and my head. And they put their head and ask me, do you love me? I have to tell them first, I love you. Arey, they don't allow me to talk to the owner. They are so possessive that they keep talking. You love me? Like that. They keep talking and so many things that they talk. And we are going out, thinking of going out for dinner someplace. What about me? They give me dinner. I will bring the dinner for you. No. Why don't you take me? Like that. Wow, it's conceptual. So these birds talk. And another thing is that the owners, the man and the lady, that they went to the university. I was sitting and doing my work. The birds never thought that I'm still there. They thought I'm also gone with them. They started talking. And my God, I was just sitting and listening to the talking. And they're so meaningful and then so clear. Suddenly they found out that I'm sitting there. They stopped immediately like that. Something like that. They're very, very nice, friendly. And then they come to me because I'm sitting there, they came to me. And all that was there. And they are also very such well-mannered birds. When I go to their house for satsang, and there's Americans. They call it as Guru Party, satsang. So when I'm talking, these birds, they sit and alight. They don't make one noise. They just quietly listen to it because everybody is listening to me, everybody is quiet. They also become quiet. Yeah. After the class is over, then everybody talks, and they also start. So I casually in one of my some other place and there itself, in one of my talks I said this, that this house where I stay, that there are birds there. Then this one lady came to me and said, birds talk? I said, yeah, they talk so wonderful. I want to see how the birds talk. Along with me. So the moment that we entered into the main door, when I entered into the main door, opened the door, and then immediately birds recognize I'm there. Then they started making all that and then trying to come. But then they saw a lady behind me. They all huddled back into their cages. And you know what? Head to the wall, tail towards me. And no bird is talking. I said, what happened? I mean, then I said, hey, they're nice names, Sweetie, and the Brownie and all that. So now nobody is talking. And then both the owners are also there. And the birds are not talking. And they try to talk, the birds are not talking. Then this lady asked me that, you said these birds talk? Yeah, they talk. We asked them. And they said, yeah, the birds talk. They talk so much. Even we say, shut up, they still continue to talk. But then now they are not talking. We don't know. We don't know why. No, but that you taught them talking, said, no, we didn't teach them. But then they picked up from us. They picked up not only talking, they picked up voice also. Voice also so much they did. One day they were birds were talking. I said, I thought that the man has come back from the office. I said, Joe, are you here? Joe is not there. But then clearly Joe's voice I heard. Are you here, Joe? I said, no. Then I watched, the bird is talking like Joe. So then this lady asked, so you teach them? No, I don't teach them. How much they talk a lot, all those things. Then this lady asked, why do you teach these birds to talk? do you mean by that? They learn talking, that's all. No, is there any purpose? Is there any reason why you teach them? Said, what purpose? He said, no, because the birds when they talk, and then you sell them, you get a good value for the birds. They had stopped breath for a moment and then they said, these are our children. We don't sell our children. Then we realized why the birds didn't speak in front of them. The birds must have sensed their intention, the intention of this lady. See how subtle that they can become. Nakamaya. That's what is the idea. That's what is Loka Vyapara, Veda Vyapara. Even the idea that I'm doing something so that somebody will be benefited. Even that object also is Veda Vyapara Nyasaha. Then what happens? What you are doing is 100% your mind is on that. That's what in Bhagavad Gita says that Karmanyevadhikaraste maphaleshu kadachana, because that which interferes with your karma is the karma phala itself. Just do it. That's it. Out of love you do it. You give the child bath, you're just giving the child bath out of love, nothing else. And Rama is a small little child, Rama is fed and then he's running around and dad is running behind him and then feeding him. Not because that he is, later on our people have said he is a, Loka Kalyana, Loka Rama and all those things, and Vishnu and then we are behind him feeding Vishnu and those things. But that's all later on. At that point of time, there's no God at all. So therefore it's purely love. Even the idea that your love for God, that very idea of for God interferes with your love. So Sanakama Nirodhastu Lokaveda Vyapa Nyasaha. Nyasa means they drops off. And you don't even recognize that. Why that Nyasa takes place, Loka Vyapara, Veda Vyapara? It's because right from the first chapter, so the fourth sutra that we said it, because that you are Trupti. Trupto Bhavati, you are doing out of Trupti. From the fullness when you do it, there is not even an expectation of Loka Vyapara or the Veda Vyapara. Both these things, Nyasaha, it rises above. Then what happens? Tasmin Ananyata, Tadvirodisha Udasinatacha. Tasmin, often people can translate it as God. Ananyata with the God. It's not with the God. Tasmin means then at that point of time, in that situation, Ananyata, Anyatva not there. It's anybody, it's anything. Anyatva not there. There's a very beautiful statement that is, it is not mathematical equation. See, Dvaita is a mathematical equation. Dvaita not being there. Advaita. Why did it say Advaita? Why did it not say one? Because normal transaction is Dvaita, you and me and all that. So therefore you transcend from the Dvaita, Advaita. Advaita is an intellectual position because Dvaita is two, comes from the intellect. Anyatva, not being there, is not coming from it. It's coming from the experience. Therefore, it says Ananyata, na Anyata. It does not eliminate Dvaita. The beauty of it is Ananyata. In fact, Ananyata happens because of Dvaita. Dvaita, you transcend Dvaita. Tasmin Ananyata. In that position, Ananyata. Yeah, if somebody comes here and says that, yeah, whose car, white car stand? It's our car. It belongs to one person, but our group is one. In USA, it happens like that. Parking slot. Somebody is blocking my parking place. Some white car is one. Yeah, whose white car? It's our car, everybody says. Oh, then immediately a person whose white car is there. Yeah, I'll move that car. But ananyata, anyatva not being there, it comes so easily. And love, anyatva comes so easily. In fact, you don't have to make an effort. That is where basically love is always there with them. This is a simple thing that you are going on a street and then you found, in particular in Bangalore, you go half a mile, then they say that there is road is closed, blocked, and then you come back. You come back and then take a detour. And there's no board to detour and all those things. But when you're coming back, somebody is taking the car going that side. Just because he is also another commuter on the same road, don't you feel na anyata? Sir, rakada hobedi, sir, don't go there. The road is closed. Why do you have to say that? Anyatva not being there. Your experience. It's so spontaneous, natural. And by saying that you feel satisfied. In itself, there is satisfaction. In itself is fullness. All these earlier experiences, what you said, it's there in that one small statement. Anyatva not being there.
So Anyatva in Malayalam is like no separation, no distinction.
Yes.
So same thing.
Same meaning. It's actually Malayalam is coming from Sanskrit. Na anyata is ananyata. Anyata is separate. Na anyata is ananyata. You see, Sanskrit grammar. Na anyata becomes like ananyata. Na vilopa. Vilopa visarga. Tad virodha shuddha asimatacha. If you do not do that, Udasin, you see, it's so, the same example, somebody is going on. Don't you feel that I should have told him? Because your ego comes in the picture. How can I tell him? I suffered, you also should suffer. You tell him. If you did not do that, if that is not there, Udasina, you will tell him. It's not a question of.
Particularly if you don't like the person, then we feel.
Right. And you see, that's why Vedanta is not away from our day-to-day life. Oh, no. Simple experiences happen that. I can keep seeing everywhere like that. You see, some car is going and somebody has not closed the door properly or something. Don't you just go ahead and say that, please close the door, it's not. Why did you have to say that? Because at that moment, that small little part, ananyata, comes into the picture.
But when it becomes loka vyapara, when we start saying that, see, I told you.
I told you, right? You want to claim that. That authorship,
That is
ownership.
loka.
Local vyapara. The moment ego comes in, I told you. In fact, many people say, I already told you. There is no reason. All right, you might have told, doesn't matter.
The parents tell children, no.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
told you so.
I told you so much. This I becomes very important. I told you is also one thing. The further thing is that being my child, you should not be doing it. Which means somebody else's child, you could do it. Then that person also thinks I should have been born to you then. Then I could do anything. You are at a loss. Stop it here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We'll put it open for any questions for Rajesh.
Yeah, just look at it.
If anyone has any questions, this is the time to ask. Just 1 second. You can unmute yourself and ask. Yeah. Does anyone want to ask any question? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Okay.
Yeah.
Shastri ji has said.
Beautiful statement. Nobody
Chat, somebody has written. Okay.
Yeah.
Van Gogh. Is it Van Gogh?
Vincent Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh.
Yes. Van Gogh was the author. Yes. Somebody had unmuted, sorry, please.
Yeah, yeah, can you please give us some more examples of Ananyata? It was very, very nice to hear this, but something which,
This sutra I have not yet completed.
oh, okay.
Tasmin ananyata tat virodhishu dasinata cha. I just said a couple of commonplace examples, but now I'd like to go to the philosophical aspect next week when we start this discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that makes more deeper understanding about that.
There is a saying, Preeti Goskara Preeti Madi. That is this is Preetigagi Preeti Madi. That is
Right. Love, for the sake of love alone.
love alone.
But then people think that Preeti Kosara Preeti Madi antandre, I love you so that you should love me. They translate it that way. I love you, but I don't expect love in return. No expectations.
Yeah.
So difficult, no, that is what I'm telling you. So difficult. Now I know that now people sit everywhere.
Look at
People always think that karma is only lust, but here we are telling such an interesting
Expectation.
right?
expectation.
I often see people only saying that, but this is such a good way of.
Actually, another thing is another explanation of. See, prema is at the mind level. Kama is at the physical level. Bhakti is at the divine level. See, you only have divine. You have the divinity within you. Bhakti is at the divine. Or at the level of consciousness. Bhakti is the one at the consciousness level. Prema is at the mind level. Kama is at the body level, physical level. Body means it's maybe that I'm seeking lust from other, or maybe I'm seeking objects also for my requirement. I'm expectation. And any of these things is expectations again. But what happens is that to start with, it's only the love that you want to do. Like I said that the first place, I just wanted to see that you should not get troubled. Therefore, I give the key. Pure prayer. But then it degenerated. You did not even tell me thanks.
Mhm. The example that I can think of that love is Tyagaraja's love to Ram.
Yes,
Is that the completely divine love, I think.
oh, of course, yes. But he fights with Rama so much.
Yes.
You did not do this, you did not do that for me. In fact, look at Ramdas, in his mantra, in his kriti, he says that, Kiska baap ka zagir hai, whose father's wealth it is. Yavadabba Sommani, Pulkutu Tirigeva Ramachandra.
Bhadrachalam.
That's Ramdas. See, and he uses such a strong way. Whose father you are just enjoying that wealth? I have paid all those things for you, like that Ramdas says. But there's such a sweetness in that. In the sweetness in that is that you don't keep God away from human level. That's why it is said that bring God to the human level so that you can see God in human being. If I cannot bring the God to the human level, there is no way I can see God in human being.
I have seen in North, people in during the winter season, they make small sweaters and other things for the god and they put it in their homes.
Right.
Yeah, I was quite astonished to see that. You said that, yeah, it is cold season, so we need warm clothes for the god. You know.
You know, when you come, there is another, when we go ahead in the Narabak Sutras, there are sutras which will talk about all these things, how all these things have happened. And what is the meaning of puja? You get it there. In that all these things are said. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raghuramji. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, actually. I never miss the Thursday evening satsang.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very beautiful session.
Thank you, sir.